We did have an advantage, I think, over a lot of districts in that we had been preparing for this for quite some time.
Early on, when we started discussing different platforms and eClass, we were hoping at the same time that they could all work together under a similar standard or a number of similar standards, and that's when I think IMS was really taking off at that time, and we were able to work very closely with them to work on a requirement for all of the vendors so they could come together and kind of work together with our unique platform.
So we couldn't do it without interoperability, and the more we started investigating, the more we realized that the wagon we need to hitch onto was IMS Global and that consortium and the work that they were doing around standards.
We knew we had to be able to put our instructional resources in a digital format.
We decided early on that our point of entry needed to be our learning management system.
Our learning management system is Desire to Learn. We have a learning object repository, which is Safari Montage.
Therefore, we wanted everything else that we were bringing into the ecosystem to be able to have that same point of entry, to be able to go into the learning management system first.
Desire to Learn as the LMS and Safari Montage as the learning object repository. Those two companies and organizations have worked very well together to put together a very seamless end-to-end solution for us.
Our D2L platform has provided a very good place where we can put items of interest for teachers and students. They know exactly where to go to access those.
Safari Montage, of course, comes to the top of any list when you are looking for that video content-based learning object repository.
A learning object repository gives one centralized place to store all the resources, whether they be Safari purchase resources from publishers like HMH, Pearson, STEM Scopes, and also district-created resources and teacher-created resources as well.
Let's say a teacher has a course page and they want to put a particular item, maybe it's a video, maybe it's a chart or a graph. They could go from the LMS, they could go into Safari Montage, select an object and place it in their course page.
They find it, they preview it. It's still just a single screen to them, you know. They preview it, they decide, yes, this is what I want, and literally they click a button that looks like the icon for our learning management system, and it automatically pulls it back into that course page assignment for them.
We use IMS standards throughout our ecosystem in order to those connections between, say, our LMS and our LOR and the digital content that we also have available.
Through LTI transactions from the LMS, the assets from Safari are loaded and played, and they look like objects that would just natively be in the LMS.
I would say the overwhelming majority of what we would traditionally call textbooks that we've adopted in the last few years have digital components at least to them. Some of them are fully digital.
We do have a good number of thin common cartridges that are loaded within the LOR Safari Montage.
Currently, we have close to 38 thin common cartridges loaded into Safari that is content for the students and teachers to use. Those 38 cartridges represent probably 80,000 individual content items. So those are all accessible through Safari and again through the integration with the LMS platform.
We made it a requirement as we were procuring and working with those vendors and procuring that content that they would, first of all, move down the path of adopting interoperability standards, the IMS Global standards, and that secondly, using those standards, that we would be able to access them, pull them into our LOR with Safari Montage and access them that way.
We are on average hitting on a weekly basis 95%, and I think we've been as high as 97% of our student population logging on.
We've seen really about a 10 times increase in usage since our first day of the crisis.
Right now, the system is working as designed and as intended.